Hey everybody, this week's Torah portion is Parshat Pinchas, and in this week's Torah portion, the baton, metaphorically, is passed on from Moses to his student Joshua, meaning that Joshua was now officially made the next in line to take over for Moses, which was going to happen in a very short amount of time. And when that baton was passed, when Joshua officially became the next in command, a lot of the heads of the Jewish people were crying. Now, why were they crying? So the obvious reason would seem to be that they were crying because it looked like this was it for Moses. However, the Talmud tells us that's not why they were crying. The Talmud says the reason they were crying is because they were sad that Joshua was the one to take over. Why? Because a couple parshios ago, in Parshat Shalach, when the spies were sent, Joshua being one of them, the word the Torah uses to describe them was a word that meant top 60,000 approximately, meaning Joshua, along with the other spies, were one of the top 60,000+ Jews. But what that also means was that there were 60,000 plus people greater than Joshua. Now, why was it then that Joshua was chosen? If Joshua was only the 60,000th best person, why was he the one chosen to take over the leadership? So I once heard an interesting idea from a Super Bowl winning football player. He had won, I think, 4 Super Bowls, if I'm not mistaken, and he was asked, why was it that he was on all these Super Bowl teams? Was he better than anybody else? Was he faster, stronger, quicker? What was it? And he said, you know something, I remember sitting in the locker room looking around, and it occurred to me that I'm not the fastest guy here for sure. I'm definitely not the strongest, and I don't throw a football. He wasn't a quarterback. Nor can I run with the football. He wasn't a running back. So what made him so good that he ended up being on all these championship teams? And he sat and thought about it, and he said, you know, the only thing he could think of was the fact that he was the first one in the building every day. In fact, he used to race the coach to see who would get there first. And the point he made was that will beats skill. Will beats skill. If you want it, you will get it, even if you're not as great as the other people trying. The one who wants it the most is the one who will get it. And that's what Joshua was. Joshua wasn't the smartest, he wasn't the best, but he was the one who was first in and last out of every single class. And that's why he was chosen to be the one to take over Moses, because he wanted it the most. And that's why the other people, the other 60,000, were crying, because they knew that they had more potential. But because they didn't push themselves as hard as him, they didn't get what he did. And that's what made them so sad, that they realized once they saw him become leader that they could have done better. And really, it's always a question we have to ask ourselves, are we maximizing, not just in our potential, but in our will to achieve great things? On behalf of Makar, have a Shabbat Shalom.